What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Alex. Welcome to Alex Sports Talk and Bets. And get your notes out because I'm going to tell you guys exactly what to put in for the NBA playoffs in the second round. Now, before I get into the second round, I just want to mention, as almost always is the case, I was completely correct on the first round. I told you guys before the first round started that the Hawks had no chance of beating the Knicks. The point differential in that series was like 104. The Knicks won games by 60, 30, and 20. You know? And the Hawks won 2 games by 1. I told you guys that they had no chance. Not only did I tell you guys that they had no chance, but I also told you guys that there were 2 other teams that had a higher probability of losing and were in bigger trouble than the Knicks are. All right? And one of those teams lost. That's the Nuggets. I predicted the Nuggets to lose to the Timberwolves. The Nuggets did indeed lose to the Timberwolves, despite the fact, ironically, that Dante DiVincenzo and Anthony Edwards both got hurt. They still lost. And I told you guys to look out for that Orlando-Detroit series. Now, I knew Detroit was going to win the series, but I will say this. Orlando actually gave Detroit even more trouble than I initially thought that they were going to. And if Franz Wagner didn't get hurt, I have a hard time believing Detroit would have won that series. But if ifs and buts were dollars and bucks, we'd all be millionaires. So at the end of the day, they did. Every other prediction in the first round was pretty easy. Of course, the Cavs are going to beat Toronto, but I'm looking at the Cavs sideways because it shouldn't have been that close. The Rockets were banged up. The Lakers still had LeBron, so we knew they were going to come out of that. OKC wasn't even worth even talking about. There was zero chance OKC was going to lose. There was zero chance that the Spurs was going to lose to the Blazers. So with that being said, the second round, hypothetically, should have better matchups in it. And with that being said, let's get straight into it. Let's start with the 76ers and the Knicks. Now, you guys are going to go online. You're going to watch sports media. Everybody's going to give you all these reasons why the 76ers should win. They have no chance. Contrary to popular belief, which is really just ESPN, where y'all get y'all information from, most of you get your information from, if we're being honest. Most of you go and watch those stupid sports debate shows, and they tell you something and you run with it. The rest of you go to Nightcap, where they don't know what they're talking about either. All these other shows where they like to troll the Knicks for clicks. Listen, guys, the Sixers have no chance. First of all, if you're just looking from a talent perspective, the Knicks are way more talented than the 76ers are. If you're being honest and you understand the game of basketball. The Sixers have no bench. Who's their sixth man? They don't have one. They have no bench. Their entire bench is mediocre. When you're pulling Andre Drummond, when you're pulling Quentin Grimes off of your bench, right? You're expecting me with all my basketball acumen to believe that these two guys are going to make a difference? They're not. Meanwhile, you talk about depth on your bench. The Knicks are pulling off their bench Mitchell Robinson. They're pulling off their bench Deuce McBride. They're pulling off their bench Jordan Clarkson. They're pulling off their bench Jose Alvarado. And depending on how they do the lineups, they might be using Mikal Bridges as more of a bench player, depending on how they use the lineups. I don't think they're going to do that this series, but they might. And so I say that to say, again, from a talent perspective, the Knicks are the way more talented team. Right? Now, even if you just look at the starters, whereas everyone wants to say that the Sixers have the advantage there, I still don't see it. I still don't see it. For example, you look at Embiid versus Cat. Cat's healthy. Embiid is not. He just got back. And even if he was, these two pretty much cancel each other out. They pretty much cancel each other out. Right? You can give the edge to Embiid. I'll go ahead and give it to him. Okay, we'll go ahead and say Embiid's got the edge there. That's the only edge you got. That's the only edge you have. Maxi's not better than Brunson at all. Can't stop him. We've seen this before, and we've seen it in the playoff atmosphere. Can't stop him. Can't outscore him. Can't control the game better. Doesn't have anywhere near as many playoff series wins. Just flat out not better. I'm tired of doing this with Brunson with y'all every single year. He's the best point guard in this series. Easy. So he clears. Then you move to Paul George, who's washed. He can't do anything with OG Anunoby. He clears. Then you go to Kelly Oubre. Does Kelly Oubre impact the game more than Josh Hart? Absolutely not. Josh Hart clears. So from there, you got to go with what? Mikal Bridges versus VJ Edgecombe? You want me to trust a rookie over Mikal? I don't. At bare minimum, they're equals, but really, I give Mikal the edge. So where is this extra talent that y'all see the Sixers having? The only place where they have an advantage is when Embiid. And again, I really don't even think that that's an advantage. But I'm just giving them that one because they don't have any other advantages. Listen, this series will go six just off of the fact that the Knicks are a goofy team and they'll lose a couple of games that they should win. But there won't be no real sweat here. They're gonna win this series. All right, the Knicks aren't Boston. Boston shoots themselves out of games all the time. You're not gonna get that with the Knicks. They're gonna take it to the basket and they're gonna shoot the three and they're gonna play defense and they have way more depth. They're just a better team. If you guys want to let the haters convince you they're not, that's fine. But you're gonna lose money again, just like you lost money last round because they're not losing. Now, moving on. The Timberwolves and the Spurs. I would have told you if you would have asked me before today who's going to win this series, I probably would have told you the Spurs in 7 because I was under the impression that Anthony Edwards probably wouldn't even be back until like game 3 or 4. As it stands, Anthony Edwards is playing game 1. The Spurs are in trouble. All right? All the advantages the Spurs had over the Blazers, they don't have, in my opinion, over the Timberwolves. They don't. They don't have the youth advantage because the Timberwolves are a young team too. All right, they don't have the superstar advantage because I don't think Wembanyama impacts the game any more than Anthony Edwards does. Right? They don't have the playoff experience advantage. So it's just a lot of. I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is gonna. I still have this going 7. But the difference is because Anthony Edwards is playing from game 1, I got the Timberwolves winning this one again. I have the Timberwolves advancing again. For some reason, the Timberwolves is just a team that always gets slept on in the West, and I don't really understand why. They've been knocking on the door of the finals for a long time. Now, I don't think they're better than OKC, so it's going to stop there. But I don't think there's another team in the West that I would say is better than the Timberwolves. So I think the Timberwolves will take out the Spurs, but I do think it'll be a good series. It'll be fun to watch for Wembanyama and Edwards. But I think overall the Spurs just have too much. Julius Randle, they still have what's that kid's name? Sharp or Shape? What's that kid's name? Why can't I think of it? Shannon Jr. That's what I meant to say. Shannon Jr. That kid's a hooper, really athletic. He's a baller. Rudy Gobert is going to play good defense. He's going to grab boards. Nobody can stop Wembanyama, but I think he'll make it tough for him. McDaniels really been balling. He's been stepping up. Conley, smart. He's a veteran. He's going to make the right pass. He's going to hit his open shots. And of course, they got my boy Naz Reid coming off the bench too. Naz Reid is like at least 10 to 15 points coming off the bench every game. And that's not to say that the Spurs don't have talent outside of Wembanyama. Like, I like De'Aaron Fox. I like Devin Vessel. I like Stephon Castle. I even like Dylan Harper coming off the bench. But I just don't think they have enough. I don't think they have enough talent, and I don't think they have enough experience. I just don't see them winning that series. So we're gonna roll with the Timberwolves here. I'm telling y'all what's gonna happen. All right. Next up, you got the Cavaliers and the Pistons. Now, this is interesting because the Cavaliers are very clearly, in my opinion, the more talented team here. All right, and they should win this series. All right, because if we're talking about from a talent perspective, the Cavs dwarf the Pistons in talent even more than the Magic did. The Pistons are just not a very talented team. The regular season and the postseason are two different things, right? The Pistons were mad. They got smacked by the Knicks last year. They came out in the postseason. They were trying hard. They want to assert themselves, put themselves in the conversation. But the reality is the playoffs is a different game. And the Pistons' Achilles' heel is they don't have a secondary scorer. You've got Cade Cunningham, and then you've got who? If Tobias Harris is your second best scorer, you're not going far in the playoffs. All right, Jalen Duren is overrated. He's never been that good. Right? So y'all keep waiting for him to wake up. It's not going to happen because he's just not that good. Duncan Robinson is cool, but Duncan Robinson can't create his own shot, right? He's a spot-up three-point shooter, so he has to be wide open to hit the shot, but he's cool. But he can't be your second scorer. Who's your second scorer? Amen Thompson still trying to figure out how to play offense. So who's your second scorer? Their bench isn't scary. You got Isaiah Stewart, bro with the dreads. I think it's Hayes or something. I can't think of it right now, but it's like Isaiah Stewart sucks. Bro with the dreads is all right, but he's inconsistent. So the problem with the Pistons is when you look at again, for the regular season, if you play hard, sure, it can work out. But in the playoffs, you need stars, you need strategy, and you need experience. And the Pistons don't. They don't have. You gotta have a 1B. They do not have a 1B. If you're relying on Tobias Harris to score 30 points a game, you're not going very far. Now, with all that being said, you guys would probably suspect that I'm picking the Cavs in this series. I am not. I'm picking the Pistons. I'm going to tell you why. Because for as much more talented as the Cavs are than the Pistons, guess what? The Cavaliers were also much more talented than the Raptors. That series had absolutely no business going 7 games. The Raptors were the worst team in the playoffs. And that series had no business going 7 games, not only because the Raptors were the worst team in the playoffs, but also because Brandon Ingram got hurt halfway through the series. And they still struggled. You struggled with R.J. Barrett. Rowan Barrett Jr. That's who you struggled with. Terrence and Phillip, R.J. Barrett. Yeah, nah. The problem with the Cavs is mental, right? First of all, they have their 1A and 1B, right? They have what the trade doesn't have, which in theory should make them better. But here's the problem. The 1A and 1B on the Cavs are both losers. When they first made the trade for James Harden, I might make a separate video about this. I told everybody that James Harden changes nothing in Cleveland. All he does is rush them to their demise. If you would have kept, what's his name? Who's their old Darius Garland? If you would have kept Darius Garland would have brought you at least 2 to 3 more chances to make a run at maybe getting into the title. But as soon as you brought in James Harden, you brought in another older, on his way out player to pair with Donovan Mitchell, and both of these guys are losers. James Harden disappoints every year in the playoffs. Donovan Mitchell disappoints every year in the playoffs. Donovan Mitchell's already a small guard. James Harden's not a small guard, but he's on his way out, you know? You got the Twin Towers, but it doesn't mean anything because Evan Mobley and Jerry Allen, they don't play as big as they are. Evan Mobley's a bucket, but he doesn't play as big as he is, especially on the defensive end, and neither does Jared Allen. I also don't really love the Cavs bench either. So, on paper, the Cavs should win this series, but I don't think they're going to. I'll take the Pistons in 6. I don't even trust the Cavs to take this thing 7. They might take it 7, but I just think the Pistons are going to out-tough the Cavs because the Cavs is a team full of losers. They don't got no heart, and they're goofy on top of that. So I'm going to stick with the Pistons in that series. Last but not least, the Lakers and the Thunder. I did these guys last because if we're being honest, there's just not very much to talk about here. The Lakers have no chance. All right, and honestly, even if you brought Luka Doncic back, I still think they have no chance. But he's not even close to returning. Luka's a fat ass, right? So you give a fat ass an injury, especially if it's a hamstring, which I'm pretty sure his problem is, he ain't coming back. All right? LeBron James' old ass is not about to carry you to a victory over the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So, personally, I don't even think this is really going to be a series. I think the Lakers get swept. Shout out to Bron winning one more series at the, age of 42, which is amazing. You got to give it to him. But it ends here. They're going to get ran out of the building. Again, I don't even think this is a series worth watching. They have no chance. Absolutely zero chance of beating the Thunder. It's not happening. The Lakers get swept. In the worst case scenario, it's over in 5. But they don't get more than one game. I think they get swept. All right? So, everything I told you guys is pretty much what's going to happen in this playoffs. Every single one of your tickets, for those of you who like to do same-game parlays, right? You don't want to pick the playoff winners. Now, if you put together all the teams I just told you were going to win the series, and they are, right? And you put $10 on that ticket, you would win like $300. You put 20 on it, you get 6. You get the point. And you're going to win this because I know I'm right. But some of you guys like to do the same-game parlays. You should have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on for 30 points every game. You should have Jalen Brunson on for 30 points every game. You should have Embiid on for about 25 every game. You should have Maxey in for about 20 every game. Right? You compare these guys together, so just keep in mind what I'm saying to you. You should have Cade in for at least 25 every single game. Every single game. Evan Mobley should be in for at least 15. Victor Wembanyama, he should be in for at least 15. All right? I'll leave Edwards alone until I see how healthy he is right now, but you want to take my boy Shannon Jr., he should be in for at least 15. Right? Cat should be in for at least 20 because Embiid don't play defense. Yeah. I would also, if you want to look at boards, I would take Wimbyama and Rudy Gobert. They both going to get about 10 boards a game. If you want to look at assists, James Harden 6 is a nice spot. We could talk about that game by game, but overall, this is what's going to happen in the playoff series. So, with that being said, y'all, I am Alex and I am out. Peace.